Welcome to the Apprentice One-to-One podcast sponsored by Schneider Electric. This week we explore the various areas of the electrical industry available to everybody, but especially those thinking of joining us in September 2022. Welcome back to the Apprentice One-to-One podcast. It's me, Mark, and I'm joined again by Jamie and Craig. How are you, Jamie?
I've had COVID.
Are you feeling better now? You recovered?
No. I feel like after I've been given the big one, that I ain't got it. I feel like.
Really?
Proper run me down. Yeah, I feel like an old man, which I am. But anyway, enough of my woes.
What about you, Craig? How are you, mate?
I'm all good. I haven't got COVID, so I'm all right.
Yeah, that's it. We're the fit and healthy ones.
Exactly.
It's one of those, isn't it? I think if you avoided it that long, Jamie, you've done well if that's your first dose of it. So
No, I've had it. I don't think it is. That's the problem. But
you reckon it might be better to get it out the way?
because I tested and it went positive. I know I've had it, so now I'm just making excuses for myself. I think. Also, my mic sounds terrible. Excuse me.
I've still apparently never had it yet.
He's give up. He's got to get COVID.
I've never had it. I'm off.
No, I done the clever electrical thing where I plugged the laptop in but forgot to turn the switch on.
I got halfway through a toaster once before I realised it weren't plugged in. True story.
So we've come together tonight to try and speak about the varied areas of the industry. But before we get into that, we have kind of been mentioning on the intros and outros to these podcasts and on social media that we are now sponsored by Schneider. And it was just to really say we're not total sellouts. We are doing this for what we consider to be the greater good, and the money that we're going to use.
The greater good. Sorry, I forgot.
We're going to be using it to buy a bit of gear for colleges and some learners. We might also get ourselves a Rolex each. I don't know. We'll just see how far the funds stretch. But it's one of those we wanted to put out there. We're really proud, actually, that Schneider wanted to sponsor the podcast. I think all three of us are on that page. It's pretty cool, to be fair.
Still can't quite get over it, but never mind.
Yeah, I mean, it is, isn't it?
This.
It's crackers, really, when you think about it. And just to say that thank you very much to Schneider and to everyone who wants to get on our cases for bin sellouts. That's not what's happening.
Well, someone accused me of that last week because I didn't swear. I swore out of respect for Net, not because the sponsor tells me not to.
Exactly. The podcast is staying as it always has been. It's not going to change because of that. And today,
I think it's...
Go on, Craig.
It's kudos to you, though, with what you've done. I mean, this is just the tail end of the journey of what you've done over COVID with Apprentice One-to-One, and now it's getting recognised, and it's another way to put money in hands of colleges and apprentices. I think that should be something we do shout about. We've all said openly and between ourselves, we are not touching a penny of any of the sponsorship. It is all going directly back to help and education. And if anybody really has a problem with that, then there's questions about their motives in the industry, I would suggest, because it is all just helping the future of where we're going.
Yeah, and kudos to anyone who's getting sponsorship for stuff anyway. If content's good enough to be paid, then it's good enough for that, isn't it? So fair play to anyone on that page. But we want to speak today about the varied range of work roles in the electrical industry, and primarily because there's lots of students out there now who are going to be coming into our industry in September. There's lots of retrainees. We've been speaking to a fair few of them who don't really know about various parts of the industry. So I thought us three, we've got quite a varied work history. We work in different sectors. We might have an interesting angle or two on some of the varied options to people. So it seemed like a nice place to have a chat.
And Jamie should go first because he loves talking about how no one knows about his controls.
Exactly.
Have I mentioned that I'm a controls engineer? I briefly mentioned it on some podcasts. What do I want to talk about?
Well, I saw a post on LinkedIn actually this week from someone who's saying he can't.
It were by me because they keep trying to throw me off. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. You're not having much luck there, are you?
If you were following on LinkedIn, because I do like to see how people are getting on who have trained or have follow or have been on here, please re-add me under my new account until that gets deleted next week. Cheers.
And I'd seen a post that they couldn't understand why people are still going offshore to work in instrumentation controls because there's big money in it now working onshore. Like there's loads of roles paying a lot of top dollar for electricians who are qualified in that area because the pool of people who can do it is quite small. I think chatting with you, Jamie, as well offline, you've kind of said the same. You've never had it easier to find work paying well.
No, but this goes back. I always thought that being an electrician was a stepping stone into another part of the trade. And I think if you don't think like that, don't start slagging people off here. But I just always thought like it's the stepping stone to a niche. Like there's so many niches in this game. And I thought, oh, I'll just pick one I like eventually. And I've done quite a few niches and I have picked one I like now. And
But
that's
let's
it.
go back on that. Go back on that though, Jamie. So saying it's a stepping stone for those coming in who don't know what you do or what a controls engineer is, what from doing, so say, you know, you're at point of gold card now, what since then have you gone and done that gives people an angle of how they would potentially get into that market and what's it done for you?
You know what I did? Ironically, there's loads of people, and I said this on another podcast this week, yeah, just because you're a trainee, you don't think the sun shines out your arse. Yeah, you can be a dick. And I've been a dick for my entire career. But the problem is everyone thinks that a fast course will get them somewhere. And certainly in controls, that's one area where that ain't happening. You can do all the controls courses you want, but you'll tend to find that most people who work in controls ain't done any. It's all experience points. And as much as I would hate to be myself, listening to myself when I was 18, saying, oh, you need more experience, yeah, I'm just afraid that's how it is. There's certain roles in the trade you flow naturally into in there. And controls is either the people that do controls now, the top end of the game, the ones that are all dying, I played with the Atari STs. They were the first people to program computers. And everyone that's followed them is a bit more sort of flopping into it like I am. I wouldn't say I'm a great controls engineer, to be honest. I just know a few areas of that massive game.
So when you talk about controls, is that like BMS? And I mean, it's an area of the industry I haven't really got involved with, to be honest.
I'm not an expert. And again, I'm working with a guy at the minute. The firm I work for at the minute, I work on gas generation engines and renewables and stuff. And the guy I work with, who's meant to be on a level with me, he knows generators, controls inside out. And he's far superior to me at what he does. But when it comes to putting cement in bags, I'm far superior to him. But that's not where I work. But I've done everything from putting cement into bags, running pumps, loads of boring, mundane stuff. And to be honest, I don't even know how I got in it. Don't even know what happened. But I knew that I wanted to get a bit more niche than just whacking in containment and that. But if that's the 10 years of your career done. But you should always be looking to specialise. I would say that's my advice.
So your day to day then, so at the minute you're working on generators, before that you were doing panels, I believe, weren't you? So what was it like?
I've done loads. I've done panel building. I've done controls is so hard to explain to people that don't know what it is, but everything needs to move at a certain speed or at a certain pressure and maintain that pressure or maintain that speed. And that's not easy to do, believe it or not. To keep a wheel turning at 3,600 revolutions a minute is rock hard. It's not easy. You're forever making it go faster or slower. It never does the speed you want. That's what controls is. And in some environments where they're slow, that might be, I don't know, making a tank stay level like that, dipping up and down. Or you might be producing, one of the last places I worked out, we could produce 80,000 sheets of food packaging an hour, printed sheets, which is just bonkers speeds. And then at that kind of level, you get into really interesting things like, where is it? You can't see it. It's an oscilloscope here. Because you can't see things happening that quick. You have to rely on instrumentation yourself. So the only way to fix instruments is with more instruments. And it just
that was
gets
like one of those
meaty.
things you used to get given in school, right? Where it came up with the funny little waves on them. And
Yeah,
you're saying that actually has a purpose.
That has the purpose. I'm not fully conversant with that one. That one will do things I have no idea how it works. Yeah, but I can make it do things that I want it to do. I can make it look at things for me and take snapshots and stuff. But there's so much. And the best, what I will say is, I don't know if I can get it out in here. I can't because it's under this table, yeah. When I got into controls, it was very electronicsy. And while this crap's here, it was very expensive. And now you can get into electronics much cheaper, and electronics is a great ground for control. So if you're into electronics or software or programming, or you know your numbers, controls are definitely something to think about, I reckon. And like I say, I'm not even that great. I can't program code. I don't program PLCs. I'm more of a nuts and bolts spanner man who gets the hands dirty where the proper controls engineer don't want to.
So I suppose then, obviously I get experience is king, but if someone doesn't know about controls and they don't know about that element, then potentially one of these HNCs in engineering or something might be an angle to go down where they start to get a base understanding of instrument controls and the mathematics behind it and how to do that. Would you say, or would you not think it's worth it?
I mean, I've slept since I did my HN. Did I do an HNC or an HND? I can't remember. I've done one of them. What's the C course?
the first year basically, and then the D is the second year for the diploma. So it's a
did the C
2-year
course.
program.
I
normally.
did the C course, whatever that was. I think that's an HND or an HNC now. But you know what? Is it not nice to just be organic in the trade? I think that's not a very good. That's not very good, is it, to offer people that kind of advice? But you know, if you just organically flow into the trade, you'll get something come along. Might not be controls, might be something else where you're just like, oh, I really like this. Like jointing. I used to love jointing, but I don't think I want to lift cables around now. And the problem about controls is, I'd love to go, oh, try this guy, try this guy, try this guy or girl on YouTube. There's no one showing it because it's so boring and complex and stuff.
That's exactly the purpose of this. I was just going to say that if you go onto the social media, any of them, you see loads of domestic stuff, a little bit of commercial. If you're lucky, some industrial, but very few people are showing anything to do with controls and instrumentation. And it is a big part of the industry. You look at petrochemical, food processing, water treatment, massive areas.
I'm trying. I'd never get away with it on YouTube. I don't put like pumping and stuff, but on Instagram, I try and put as much as I can up because Instagram stories are fast and furious. You can just record it while you're there and then. So I try and put a bit upon that about controls to interest people. But as for doing YouTube videos, it's a non-start because they're up there. People find them. Petrochemical, you get a phone out, you're off site. A lot of the stuff's secret. A lot of stuff is like, you can't explain it in a YouTube video. You don't go into tons of maths. It'd just be a maths video. So yeah, it's not a lot of it about, but again, I think if you just flow for the trade, you'll find people doing it. There's so much going off with controls and instrumentation. I haven't even touched the tip of it.
I guess it'd be on some of the employers to start big recruitment drives for apprentices. If there is this skill shortage in that sector, I'm thinking of like BP and I don't know, the water companies, them taking in large numbers of apprentices and taking the time to train them. You've been in that sector. Is that something that happens, Jamie? Is it something you're familiar with, or is it tend to be they're looking for experienced people and there's not that really going on?
Everyone's been looking for experience, haven't they? And there isn't any. And the problem is, like getting people, they say getting good people at the minute is hard work for Sparkies. But you think about that tenfold in a job where, what we got in here? We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds worth of shit just sat around. That's a controls engineer's job. You charge good money, don't get me wrong, but you get a controls engineer on site, like, Jesus Christ, I'm not paying that. But like oscilloscope, 800 quid, bosh, sits there doing nothing 10 times a year. You try and then find someone to get into a trade like this where you need your base electrical skill, and then everything you buy is, although it's much cheaper than it was, is super expensive. A software package with Siemens PLCs, just for an example, you're talking 10 grand a year for a license before you've even done anything. And then you've got to go and find the work using that. Then if you want to do Allen Bradley, 10 grand a year for a license. You want to start programming with PLC, a basic PLC is going to cost you, to play with, going to cost you 5 grand. So like it soon starts adding up. So it's not the kind of job you can wander into. And I couldn't tell you where to start. Anyone that moves anything, anyone that moves or controls out. So you've got pumps is big and basic. Packaging, manufacturing, making widgets, injection molding, it's all controlled, everything's controlled. But again, it's niche on niche on niche in controls and instrumentation.
And I think following from that, then robotics is quite big. So I'm friends with a guy who went and worked at Amazon for a bit, and the pressure that he had going in there, and he was a Sparky as well. And he said the pressure going on in there, when the robot goes down, there's literally got a set amount of time for him to diagnose, correct that fault, to get it back up online. Because otherwise the whole production just goes nuts. And
the robot's like, you will pay, human.
But he was there saying that, like, you wouldn't believe what you see. Like, you've got these guys in packaging and stuff, and they've got to say box it up every 10 parcels every 10 minutes or 1 a minute or whatever it is. And these robots just come along like cupboards, and they just come, they get stacked to pick it up and go. The minute one of them's out of sync, it knocks the whole warehouse out of sync.
It's so odd.
Fascinating to me that there's that much. He reckoned he used to do about 6 miles a day running around the Amazon warehouse trying to find the robots as they shut down to get them running. Then, like, you just see loads of Sparkies running across the floor to different robots to get them back online and keep the program going 24 hours a day. And like you say, the money they were offering, I think, was about 60 grand as a basic rate, and you worked, say, 15, 16 days of the month. But you could then obviously do overtime, and everyone there was taking up the offer of overtime, doing night shifts and making an absolute fortune. But the pressure of that job and the skill that goes with that, of knowing exactly what you're doing and
you can,
that moment in time, is high end, I think.
You can paint yourself into a corner. So like, I know, for example, Toyota, which are about half an hour from here, drove past them on the way to work. They have ABB robots to do all their welding stuff. But ABB robots are nothing like Yakomando robots or the Japanese manufacturers or Bueller robots. They're all different. So you could be the absolute kingpin on one robot type, but you can only have work in one industry because that's all it gets in the UK. It's dead niche. Yeah? It does make it exciting going to work every day because you always feel like you're at college. You're always on a laptop reading a manual or how does this work? And it gets you back to principles that the robot is told to do a fixed function, it carries it out, and it relays to its own brain where it is, what it's doing, and what part of that process it's in. So it always does that. A robot basically goes, grab this tape measure, doink, grab it, and it'll do that over and over again. But the way the robot talks and tells itself to do that is different on every manufacturer. So you're always on catch up. If you don't like reading booklets, feeling out your depth, referencing information, which I bang on about all the time, because in my game, that's what you do. You might get one PLC and you know how to do something, and on another PLC, it's done totally differently. So you're always referencing, always digging out manuals. If you don't like researching, don't be a controls engineer, is my advice.
But I think that's, sorry, Mark, I think that's showing that the line of what an electrician is now is blurred, shall we say?
Very blurred.
It was big when I got into the Sparky 20 years ago. It was big industry anyway. It was the big industry to get into anyway. There was all sorts you could do, and now it's even bigger, and it's only getting more diverse in it.
But I remember, like, an engineer used to be an engineer, didn't it? And a Sparky was a Sparky, and there used to be a fairly defined line between the difference of what's going on. And now it's moving more into that electrical engineering seems to be becoming the big element of the market, where, for me, the future is only going that way because everything eventually is going to become automated and robotics, whether we like it or not, and whether we see it in our lifetime or not, who knows. But think about, for me, I still remember like the first mobile phone coming out in like the 90s that people would have. It was in like a suitcase, and now my mobile phone does more than my laptop does. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how far is that going to go in the next 20 years for Sparkies to be involved in? It's crazy.
If I was going to give someone, if someone's interested in controls engineering, look up PID loops. Look into that. If you get into that, that's in my game. Motors, if you like your motors and controlling motors and PID loops, that's probably 85% of everything covered on most manufacturing sites. So have a look at that. That'll get you. If that interests you, great. If that doesn't interest you, stick up some containment or something, or jointed or something. I don't know. But it's not. Some days I sit there thinking, what the fuck am I doing this for? Why am I doing this to myself? I can bank containment in all day, but some days I do like the challenge, and that's the difference in it. But if I had my time again, genuinely, I'd be a tailor.
That's a bit of a change of tack.
There is nobody better at making me not know what to say next than Jamie.
I'd be a tailor. If I knew what I knew now, I'd be a tailor. I maybe it's one of them hobbies that I shouldn't do, but I like messing around on the sewing machine and sewing and stuff. I'd be a tailor. You can make good money out of it. It's not money from about. Spark's 10 a penny now, and you have to get really in stuff. Tailor, sewing machine, making those money, you're off. Work in the garage, have the week off. Welcome to Tailor 1-to-1.
If you look around industry, though, it does seem we've got a skills shortage that's building already. I know from speaking with Neil in rail, it's a big issue there. In instrumentation and your area, Jamie, you're seeing it. I know in a smaller way in commercial and domestic stuff, it is an issue. There's a growing demand, and I'm not sure we've got the skilled workforce to really meet that at the minute. And it seems like we're in a place where a lot of the employers want that skilled labour in their business, but they don't want to go on that journey of building it themselves.
It's no mistake that I think they've been shitting on people for 10 years, are they? I know everyone knows that's my opinion, is that the employers, or not all of them, the majority of employers had it too good for too long. You didn't want to, you let everyone go and do, sound like a broken record now, you let everyone go and do the level 2s and level 3s and self-fund themselves being Sparkies. And now, quite rightly, they're saying, if you want me to work for you, you can pay for me because I've paid for my own stuff. And stop that car outside. That's the problem. The big firms, the bigger firms, and the small ones in some respects, they've not feathered their own nest. Not looked after the lads, not paid the lads and ladies, and they've got shut on now. And I do wonder where the designers are coming from. The future, like at the minute, if I put my CV on, like it's quite broad because I'm open to all jobs because I get sacked a lot. My phone does not stop ringing, especially for designers, consultants there. And I still work on the side as a designer and consultant for stuff. But I don't know who's replacing that, because the self-funded people aren't as advanced after 4 years as an apprentice person would be, just because of the way they've done it. So they probably want to linger in the trade for longer, learning the trade more. Whereas when you're getting out your 30s, people start looking at going down these different avenues, don't they? And I just don't see that happening as much.
There's a lag, isn't there, between an apprentice starting and coming through. It's just the period of time, like you said at the beginning, Jamie. It's not fast training. It does take a length of time. So if we want to meet this demand, it's not something we can flick a switch on and do in a few months. It's going to take a while. And
if you're self-funded and you're paying that back and you're enjoying yourself and you're self-employed, you're not going up a chain, are you? Because traditionally, over designers, you learn design as experience through the what was on about the other week, what was the old term I coined back?
Time served.
You'd be sat in the office, right? Do you fancy doing design in the office? Yeah, I do actually. You're a reasonable spark of tools. Go in the design office and sit there. You sat next to old Bob, and you go, right, Bob, what do you do? He goes, well, first of all, I go and see the customer, ask them what they want. All right, then what do you do? He goes, well, then I cut with the concept and draw it out, and he'll tell you how he designs, and then you speak to the other designer, and then you cut with your way in doing it. That's not there because people are just self-employed, not going through these firms anymore. I don't know if that's true. That's the way I see it at the minute, though.
Possibly. I mean, it's something's got to give at some stage. I think we've got about. I mean, Craig might know better because he's recently been in a college environment. But I think there's maybe 20,000 apprentices a year coming in across the country. I think on an annual basis, and I'm not sure of the percentage of that make it out the end as qualified. But certainly, demand seems to be outstripping that. So you need some changes to happen sooner rather than later. And then I think. It's really tricky when you're trying to give those new people advice of where to position themselves and go when you're not sure what area of the industry you want to go into.
Yeah, and I think when you're starting out, you've got to just have a shot at each and then find which one you enjoy, and then, like you say, start to specialise from there. But it's hard getting firms now, isn't it? There's a lot of 0 hours contracts kicking about. There's a lot of self-employed work going. But if you're new into industry, say you've just finished your apprenticeship and just picked up your card, are you necessarily at the point or ready to be taking on one of those self-employed roles? And in a lot of cases, probably not. And that's not knocking apprentices. That's just the reality of spending that bit of time, making sure you're confident in what you're doing. Because when you go into one of those worlds where you're subbing and you're on your own, or you're on a building site, or you're moving site to site, week to week, month to month, there's an assumed level of competence for you turning up on that day, and not necessarily the support side of it that's there anymore. And for me, that's one of the big problems in industry is the support side's gone and the expectation is almost higher than it's ever been. And no one's really filling that gap in the middle in many cases. And
it was given the time up to help people out because everyone's in such a rush. I blame this on little chef syndrome, yeah? Since little chefs disappeared, people drive faster, quicker, and don't stop to go to the toilet or eat. And that's the same with sparking. No one wants to give up the time to help anyone out because they're so busy trying to earn their own money that they're not. Shit should be rolling downhill. There's nothing wrong with that, and it doesn't happen anymore, or what happens less.
And that's where you've got to, I can never tell people how to do it, but you've got to hope you find a decent firm. Like where I'm at, it's quite cared for. Most of the people working in that firm have been apprentices at one point or another, coming through their doors and then being kept on. And now they're a 30 bloke strong team. And I think we've got 7 apprentices on the books at the minute, all at varying points of, as when finished, we take on more. We just took on 2 new apprentices because 2 guys are just qualified, but they stayed with the company. And there needs to be more scenarios like that where it's kind of, there is a set limit, and obviously not everybody can afford to take on 20 apprentices at all times, but there needs to be more, especially in these higher tier 1 companies, I think, where everything's subcontracted now, isn't it? And it's coming down to that middleware firms to basically pick up what the top tiers aren't doing to get enough skilled workforce through. But
it's old school, isn't it? Apprenticeships. It's old school, but it's still the best. The firm I work for, I said it I said on every podcast I go on, yeah. Goodman Hursthouse in Nottingham, I think they called him Tech now. Trevor Hursthouse worked there when I worked there. It was his firm. He ran it. We sucked in apprentices at the bottom, 10 a year, 10 in the first year, 10 in the second year, 10 in the third year, 10 in the fourth year. everyone in the firm had to help the lads out, get them doing stuff, tell them what they were doing, pass the knowledge on, and they never had an apprentice problem. All right, we used to go and get pissed up on the college bus back and do all that kind of stuff. That problem existed, but it was a constant churn of people coming through. Some of those people left, some of them went to the office. It's a very old school thing, but it's still the best way of doing it, because I don't give a toss how many books you read or how many courses you go on. You ain't going to learn to show a horse out of it, are you? You've got to go and watch someone do it.
Definitely.
No matter what people say, you can't show a horse with a book. You can't learn flower arranging out of a book. You can't. There are artisan trades, aren't there? Look up the proper meaning of artisan, and that is where one person passes their knowledge on to another, because it can't be written down or taught. They can't.
Is that the business course?
That is my business course, £59 a month. But people and some apprentices, some trainees are their own worst enemy, because they think they're righteous because they've done a level 2, level 3. And reality is, you ain't learned nothing.
Well,
and I've pulled my headphones out now, so I can't hear a word anyone's saying. So just bear with me. Back to the studio.
Well, one of the best examples is Mark, right? So Mark had his containment video that went up a few weeks ago. You know, containment came out well, but afterwards spoke about the fact that Matty told him that that was not the way he was ever shown or taught in college. It was 2 different results to come to the same outcome. Is either one better than the other? Possibly, probably not. Who knows? But the fact that there's so many ways to do something in the electrical industry means you need somebody who's spent a bit of time to be showing you and saying, this is a way of doing it. See if that makes your life easier. And if you're not getting that, we can't be holding people to the same account that potentially is out there at the minute.
It makes me sad, the training thing. I've having worked in it. I've seen lads and ladies come through. They've done a level 2. The things I'm probably not, I don't want to come out like I'm slagging it off. I've seen people come through, do a level 2, level 3. Yeah, at night or whatever, while they're doing other jobs. Then they've run into an EV and 2391. And anyone that's done that whilst working somewhere else will be mediocre at all those things. But they are showing a lot of willing, and they'll probably get in a firm and do good. But likewise, there are people that drag themselves through that won't be ready. And the other one is retraining. I always see a lot of people retrainers think you're never really going to top it off in that trade. Does that make sense? Is that unfair? Someone retrains in the 30s for being a chef. You think you're probably just about to peak in your own trade to be the top. And then suddenly the retrain, I think you'll never quite get that high again in that retraining job. Does that make sense?
I think it's possible for people if you've got that determination. I know what you're saying. I'm thinking of a few of the retrainees I've spoke to of late, and they are very focused and determined on being electricians. They kind of made the wrong turn earlier on in the career. And like you said, Jamie, you just fall into stuff, don't you, when you just carry on with it. And it's only maybe really later on you think, actually, do I really want to be doing this? It's like,
I do see people retrain though, because they think it's all glitz and glamour.
That's the other thing I was going to say. It's like you start seeing these adverts on the internet and 60 grand, 200 grand being an electrician. And all of a sudden, all of a sudden people start chasing that rather than actually wanting to do it. And that's where those lines get a bit blurred again, I think.
What's the number one job then? Who's seen this? What's the number one job for kids nowadays in survey this week?
Probably been an influencer or something.
YouTuber. Watch this. This is the reality of being a YouTuber / content creator. Look, I'm sat in my garage roasting my tits off, surrounded by eggshell foam, talking to other people. This is not, it's not glamour. Like, they just want to be a YouTuber because they see the cool side of it. When in fact, as you'll all know, being a YouTuber / podcaster is 90% fanning around with cables and wires and stuff, and editing and doing all the crap, and not even 10% of it goes online, does it? It's not as glamorous as it looks.
But no. I think going back to the question is about, I'm not sure there's a better or worse way to train. I think the reality is it comes down to the person individual, isn't it? Because there's many apprentices aren't maximising the opportunity. There's many adult retrainees that I say have chose to do something different and are highly motivated and they're coming through. For me, it's about, if anyone wants to succeed in the industry, how much are you willing to get up and go? Well, I've been to Norfolk on a job 3 times last week. How many times are you getting up at 4 a.m. to drive for 3 hours to get to site for 7 o'clock to get home at 9 o'clock at night because the job's got to be done, or whatever it is you're doing? That for me isn't about qualifications. That's about how are you as an individual keen to do that and push. And if you're willing to push, you'll get on in the industry.
How much crap can you take? I remember going to site once going, I am badass at conduit. I'm like a ninja at conduit. I was good at it. I know all the ins and outs. I knew how it worked. And this bloke was like, big area arse spark, like, good at it, yeah? Yeah, I'm brilliant at it. Right then, tap me a length of nipples. You can't say no, can you? Because just say like a job. It's the most mundane job. Tapping a full length of nipples takes all day and will mean your arms are falling off. But you've just big yourself up, and unfortunately, with all sparking, making some containment that looks great is brilliant. But the reality of sparking is most of it's mundane, in it. If you want to put some cool containment, you're cutting rod for 12 hours.
There is some other areas of them. Craig's in one at the minute. I was just thinking of to do with design. You're getting more involved with that now in your role, aren't you, Craig? So that's something for people to look towards as well. It's not all going out onto site doing the physical work. There's all of this CAD and drafting stuff. And I've put a few posts up to learn more about CAD myself this week. So I've not really done anything with that for years. So it's something I need to improve on in my job now as we're doing these solar installs. That's expected. But, you know, there's that as well. That's a proper career for someone to go into electrical design.
Yeah, and I think it's so my role is a bit varied at the minute with what I do with where we are. So I do elements of design, I do elements of CAD, as you say, I do elements of QSing, do elements of quantifying and pricing. They're all different angles of not necessarily every day being day to day on the tools. But yes, how do you go about it? Well, for design, you've got to be interested to be willing to sit there for hours, pulling frustrations out. And there's some great software out there that helps you out. And some good people you can call on when you're stuck and you're looking at a problem as to why it's kicking up warnings and you really can't work out what you've done wrong. It's a simple click of a button. And if you've got the patience to go through that, then it's a good job. For me, the satisfaction of that comes from, sitting doing the calculations on software, not by hand, and taking what looks like a drawing on a floor plan and then seeing the finished article at the other end when I get to go out and go testing it and start producing the certification that goes with it. For me, it's a great journey to see that process take place.
I love drawing. I find it dead therapeutic. You were saying, do you like that, doing that bit? Does it CAD? I don't do it all the time, but I just love drawing. I love you going to use a CAD. It's one of the best things I've learned off my own back.
So with CAD, I think I'm still learning CAD off my own back. It's new to me. I think it's like Marmite, isn't it? When you get something and it comes out well, it's fantastic. But then when you send it off and someone comes back and goes, but that one bit's out of line, you're like, damn.
There's nothing more exciting than going seeing it become a reality, though, is there?
No. And that for me is the reward at the end of it. Like, you've put something together. My job, the way I see it, is to try and make the guys we've got on site's lives easier. So the better the drawings and the better the design, the better the certification paperwork I can give them for the job starting, the easier it makes their time on site. So that when I go back at the end and we're finalising certification, we're putting as fit drawings in and starting to sign the job off and producing manuals, we've made their lives easier. And if their lives are easier on site, then they get to produce a better standard of work. And for me, that's my aim every day, is make their lives that bit easier by getting better at the bits that I do. Because if I give drawings which are all over the place, not to scale, out of line, unreadable, not marked up with circuit references, whatever it may be, and I've done all of them, by the way, is just making their lives harder, and meaning they spend more time on the phone having to say, well, what's this? Where's that going? Why have you put this? What supply is that on? The better you can get that, especially in the area of commercial that we are in, that's expected of us off of our principal contractors. We have to provide all of our drawings and all of our edits every time to the principal contractor, so that everyone from our Sparkies to the principal contractor we're working for has copies of them and can see what's going in and going on. Is a whole different avenue of the industry. And what I'm finding when we're talking about niches is there's a lot of people who are far better at CAD than me. There's a lot of people who are potentially better at design. What seems to be becoming a bit of a gap in the industry is people who are electrically based, who can do the CAD and the design to produce compliant drawings based on the regulations. You tend to have people who have been engineers and been to uni and done CAD for 6, 7, 8 years, day in, day out, and will produce phenomenal drawings that I could never do, but they know nothing about electrical or the wiring regs.
I'm asking you a load of questions now. Then, I already know the answers to these things, but so people at home will be able to look. What are you drawing in?
So I go between two softwares. I go between electrical OM and I go between AutoCAD, and it depends on.
I was wondering if you said that because AutoCAD, unfortunately, is the industry standard, isn't it? If you want to draw,
Well, it is for non-electrical individuals.
I'd say it's for everything, unless
Well,
you're very specialist like Revit and stuff like that. But if you want to learn to draw, I would say AutoCAD is the place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to learn AutoCAD because AutoCAD is the fundamentals of everything. And even when you look at electrical OM software, the CAD plan add-on that they've got in their package is a version of AutoCAD. So if you understand AutoCAD, you start to understand electrical OM. The benefits you've
DWG and all that, isn't it? It always
it's
boils
all
down to
DWG comes across. Yeah, they both convert into each other, and you can open the drawings in both softwares depending on where you're taking it from. It doesn't matter. They can both talk to each other. But the benefit for electrical with something like electrical M, and I have to shout out Spencer. He gets called or text off me most days and gets a load of abuse when I'm struggling. But he always answers the phone, so it's his fault. Is being able to take my design, because I do all my design in electrical M as well. So to be able to take the design and add that into the CAD drawing, something as simple as putting the wiring on the circuits on the electrical M CAD plan, which I kind of can do in AutoCAD, but not to the same extent. It maps the circuit references across. It then goes back and checks my guessed lengths of cables when I've done the design and actually measures them based on the scale to what they will actually be, and starts to predict my test results that the guys are going to be getting on site, to then be starting to tie all that back in. When I hand over the design at the end of the job, it's got exacts in it because the CAD drawing has measured the length of the cable, the test results has measured the length of the cable, and both of them between them has updated my design to mean that what we hand over is what we've physically pulled on site to the meter, making sure that everything is as buttoned up as it can be for an overall all-round package. And that for me is the advantage of why I'm starting to draw more in electrical M. But you are right, all the drawings I receive have been done in AutoCAD.
If anyone's man interested, because I've done this, I got a dodgy copy of AutoCAD. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit it. Yeah, sorry AutoCAD, sorry Revit. I got a dodgy copy of AutoCAD, put it on my computer, and I sat in front of YouTube and learned AutoCAD till I could draw. But now I believe SketchUp is still free, which although it's nothing like AutoCAD, learning to draw is learning to how to think it, you had to put it on the paper. And I do believe AutoCAD's owned by Autodesk, isn't it? And they do Revit and Fusion 360. I think if you are a student with a student card, they give it you for free while you've got a student card. I don't quote me on that, but it's very, 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 very cheap if not. And if anyone has got like a bit of flair to them and they're quite artistic, if you're that kind of person that can see shapes and want to put one on a paper, learning AutoCAD will never, ever, ever let you down. And if you think like me, all you've got to remember the secret is that in AutoCAD, you draw everything the size it is in real life. Everything's drawn one-on-one scale, which makes, if you think you're a bit thick and you learn AutoCAD, you'll never go wrong in this game, in any game, because it's dead useful.
That was one of the things I was thinking when I mentioned it, that it might be somebody who is more artistic and wants to come into our industry but don't want to do the graft. Those people will be out there, and we
should say as well that electrical O&Ms are a 2-week trial, don't they? So if you want to learn if you want to see how some basic software, not basic, that's rude. If you want to see how some software you can ever play with to do electrical design works, that's 2 weeks free, isn't it? They give you.
Yeah, I think they do. You get a 14-day, 2-week free trial, no obligation. You don't even have to put your CAD details in.
And they won't absolutely bum you like Amtech. So good.
But what's good about, and we're not sponsored by Electrical M, but what's good about Electrical M is the fact that they're all sparks, right? It's electrical software being designed by electrical engineers, clerks of works, different people that have spent their time in industry and putting their heads together, looking at all the different packages and softwares out there and trying to put one together specifically targeted for electricians to make our lives easier. For me, it's just a great bit of kit. And it's not even expensive. I think it's about it's about £2,000, £2.5 grand, depending on how big the package you want to get for a year. Like, it's not even an expensive thing
I
to
don't think it's in that
buy.
one, mate. I think it's loads cheaper than that when I looked at it. For what I wanted to do, it was loads cheaper. And here's a bombshell. When I went back to college 2 years ago to teach, I had to get a lecturer to sit me down and teach me how to do a cable calculation because I've been using software for that long. I couldn't do it. And it's great to be able to do them longhand, but we all know in reality, no one's doing that nowadays. You get to grips with a bit of software for everything. And there is a bit of software for everything. There's CAD, lighting, lux levels, cable calculations. Oh, there's software for everything. So if you're not very computer orientated, get used to it because everything's on the computer now.
And there's loads of other areas of industry as well, isn't there? I was thinking of like getting into manufacturing. You look at these Electrium and Hager and Schneider and Eaton. You can go and work in their research and development. There's their sales and marketing in wholesale as well. We've got the huge wholesalers in the country, and you can go and get involved with all of that stuff. You don't have to do the actual graft of being an electrician. I know a lot of these wholesalers now, they have apprenticeships where they will teach you sales, business, and bits of the electrical industry as well. I can't remember what they call it, but I know a couple of people who've gone on to do that through Apprentice 1-to-1. So yeah, there's
lighting's one, I think. Lighting, you know, if you're creative and designing lighting is a proper skill. It's the most overlooked skill in the electrical industry, I think. It's so hard to do. It's so hard, so difficult. It's like painting with a palette. And to do it properly, it requires you to have artistic flair, mathematics, just being creative and thinking about stuff. It's really interesting. Go to a clothes shop and look around. Look how good the stuff looks. It's not that good, it's shit. It's lit well.
Do you remember when spotlights first became a thing and these domestic jobs would start popping up, and it was literally like a spotlight every 200 mil all over the place?
I remember putting them in my mum and dad's house in big S shapes and stuff because I thought it was super cool. I bet it looks absolute shit now. Shadowy as out, but it's one of them unsung heroes of the shopping centre. Shopping centres is, sorry, Craig, but it's you'll tell us more about it. Go on.
I was just going to say, but lighting is a big part of the industry, as you say. So, like, we still now, I might put a basic design together as to where we think we want to lay the lights out, but then we send it off to the lighting companies that we use. They are taking our DWG files, so we're going back to CAD again. They are taking our CAD files, lighting the room up, and then sending us back calculations, as you say, as to all the lux levels. Because there's regs, and I didn't know this until recently, there's regulations about the lux levels that have to be maintained in certain types of buildings and certain types of installations. And they will give you back a compliant set of drawings, and even down to the fact of when you want to, so when we're doing pricing and we're tendering for jobs, sometimes some of the things that wins us jobs is by saying, look, here's the lighting design that your designer put forwards, but we can save you another 10 grand by putting this lighting design forwards, which gives you just the same amount of light in the output, but looks a little bit different. And it's, you know, there's a whole spectrum there. We looked at a lighting system recently, which was like the ones you see in movies, you know, where it starts to send the signals to the PIRs ahead of time and it gets brighter the closer you get to the light, and like you see on the runways and all this, and designing that and the calculations behind that is immense.
It's always something that really interested me, but I'm not good enough maths to do it. But you go into who are really good at it, and I say sometimes training. There's a clothes shop in Sheffield. I can't remember which one it is. It used to be totally black, and they just had lights up, and it was the best light I've ever seen in my life. Everything in that shop looked mint, and you could tell they'd really put a lot of time into it. And any like Harrods windows, all the lighting is designed properly, even down to the colours and stuff. It's crazy how much you can get into it. And again, if you're just artistic-y or you're coming from that kind of thing, it's definitely something you can get into.
Well, there's a free software for anyone who wants to look at something like that. There's a free software called, let me just get up my desktop, Relux. And I only use it for very, very basic sort of, you know, square rooms and looking at how many panel lights or whatever we might need. But Relux is a software. It's free to use. It's got loads of manufacturers in there. I got introduced to it by going on an Ansel lighting course. Ansel use it for all of their sort of lighting designs and calculations to get the lux levels coming out. And it's interesting how to look at a room and be starting to, and this shows how sad I am, but it's interesting to be looking at a room and saying, well, if I put that type of strip light up, that gives too much shadow off of those back walls. What if I put these lights up and it's got up and down reflectance?
as it's called in the trade, chip shop.
You know, how many panels to light a room and why, and you know, it's interesting to think that it's not always just about the start point. And then looking, when you talk about spotlights, how many different variations there now are of spotlights based on what the benefits they're going to do in that area. It's a fascinating world to start going down and looking at, I think.
We've just barely scratched the surface on all this. You've got the huge range of voltages as well you can work out. There's stuff in generation, cable jointing. You've got all of the DNO works and things that go on. There's highways. It's vast, isn't it? There is so much offshore, renewables.
Roading. My cousin's a road. My brother's a roader. He does all rigging and that, setting up cabling and generators and stuff at all the festivals and gigs. And I've done a bit of that with him. That's just a completely different world.
Audio, visual, and
yeah,
power generation. There's loads, isn't there, mate? It's absolutely vast. It's amazing.
That sparking is just a base. It can be a career if you want to bang tubing factories. Or great, be my guest. But that sparking really is just a base qualification, I would say, isn't it? It's like learn to drive a car, then learn to drive a lorry or a jet ski, and it's never ending. There's so many niches in it, and they're all good payers.
That's the exciting thing. There's a good prospect for anyone in all parts of the industry at the minute. And we've not really mentioned the domestic and commercial because they're well covered. We've spoken about them lots before. I think everyone who was looking at being an electrician would kind of be aware of that. You know, it's well talked about.
It's just there in your face, isn't it? That's what people see. And then some people will get into the train and go, what the fuck is that? Who's this guy talking about other light? Why is he coming? We can do a light. And you think, you soon, when you're young, go, we could do that. We could just do that. We could do that. And you soon realize nowadays you can't. You can't do your own jointing. You can't do your own cable pulling. You can't do all this. Everything's gone dead niche. Especially like you go into a data center, no one's doing nothing. Everything's so specialist.
So here's a question then. You're joining the industry again. You're 18-year-old. I know you already are, but what you're specialising in now? What do you think the next 20 what do you think 20 years time is the one that's, you know, blown up and is the way that you're going? Where are you going to specialise?
You know, to be an absolute dick in relation to a question, you know what? I come into the industry and you know all the little niches I want to have a go at, I've done them. So I did them all. I've been and done them. I just thought I'd go and have a go at that. And the one I settled on was controls.
Yeah.
So you do controls again now?
I love jointing. Used to love jointing and terminating and glanding, like what a joint tech does on YouTube. Used to love doing that, but just used to knacker myself up doing it. It's a young man's game. But I really used to enjoy doing that. But you can end up in a hole up to your knees in mud. But I think I'd definitely come back to controls again.
For me, I'd go for the renewables side of things. We're pushing on doing that now anyway. And it's really because it's all outside work. We like being outside. You don't want to be cooped up inside, looking at the same four walls all the time. And it's supposedly doing the planet a bit of good. And we all know that's debatable if it's true or not. But it's outside work at the end of the day. We like working out. I like working outside. What about you?
You're not getting away with it.
I think I'd stick with design, to be fair, because
all engineers, would you?
No, I'm quite sad. All the jobs I've done in the last sort of 10, 15 years is about starting with something on a blank bit of paper, whether that was managing departments in colleges or whether that was in the army or whether that was here and now, starting with a blank bit of paper and seeing what the result you can get at the other end. That suits my brain, if I'm honest. I've got one of those minds that likes to take a problem and try and find a solution at the other side of it. And then when that's coming out and seeing some things which are pretty cool and some of the jobs we're doing at the minute, that gets me up in a day and makes me excited to go to work.
It's very creative industry, isn't it? Like everything about it, it's always creative. You're always like thinking, oh, I'm going to make that bracket. It's not the thick person's job it used to be tattered out as in the 80s. It is, you've got to be able to think. And I've always said, and I've heard Sam slag me from the podcast, you've got to be able to visualize stuff in your head. You need to go, what's that going to look like when I'm done? I'm going to put something across here, and the cable's going to be on the bottom. You know, if it's not been designed, you're sort of winging it a bit. It's a very creative job, and you're not going to start making stuff look like too out there, but you get a little bit of flair, and you get to put your own swing on things, and that's the best thing I think about being an electrical engineer.
I've gone in and looked at things, you know, so I've maybe designed something off of paper without seeing a building. Then you turn up in the building, you look at it and you go, actually, going to do this completely different. Now you've seen it, and as you say, you stand there and you look at it and go, well, imagine when this room has got 400 desks in it and it needs 800 floor box. You know, I'm being ridiculous on numbers, but that's not going to work. I'm going to go back and use this system or that system, or lighting controls. That's an area we haven't touched on really, not just the lighting design, but the lighting controls industry. That in itself is massive as well. Like understanding all the different formats of them. Yeah, that's.
You know, it will make you sad of the industry though. No, it will ruin it for you if you're coming for the money.
Yeah.
Just coming for the money, you're fucking absolutely wasting your time. You've got to have passion in this game. And I remember talking to a guy I was on a course with, an army course. We're trudging along through a field, and he's a plumber, and he goes, "Don't really like it. It's just a job." And I goes, "Do you enjoy it?" He goes, "No, I fucking hate it." He goes, I've got the wrong job because I don't like doing it. I don't enjoy it. And it's his boss says, he says, "Oh, my boss loved making nice pipe and all that." And I was like, "That's what sparking's like. I get it now." And he's like, it's not a job, is it? It's a career. I was like, "Yeah, it is. Yeah." And that's how you should see it. If you're just coming here for the money, you're going to end up doing loads of stuff you hate in places you hate with people you hate, and you're going to hate it. So maybe consider something else.
You're going to spend a long time doing it, so make sure it is something you want to commit to. And the money comes as a byproduct, doesn't it? If you're enjoying your
the
career,
money comes because you get good at it, because you want to. Because
yeah,
the difference between a job and a career is a job. Well, this is my interpretation of it. A job happens 8 till 4. You go in there, you do whatever you do, and you leave. When you're sparking, I get home at night and electrical contracting news has come through the thing, and I flick through that, or I'll be like, "Oh, I've seen a newer device there." I'll go on the internet and find out what it is and read the instructions to it and look, see if it's got application where I can use it. And you're always sparking, basically. Even when your missus takes you shopping like that, aren't you?
oh, we all do that.
That's interesting. And that's what sparking is. If you're just really coming in trying to make a load of fast cash, I'm afraid it's not going to happen for you.
And I think that's the thing. Like, we are an industry, and not the only industry. I'm sure there's lots out there, but it's all I know. We are an industry where reading is an expected ongoing part of what you do, right? And I'm not going to use the term CPD because that is such an overused term. It's ridiculous, but you've always got to be sat looking at something. You're always tinkering with something, as you say, like, and if you stop reading, and I've always said since I've been in the industry, the day that I think I know everything about electrics is the day I need to give up, because that's the day I'm going to kill myself.
You know what I was admire for being able to put effort in, and they do love what they do, is welders. They literally sit there pushing a blob of metal along for hours and hours on end. And people go, "Oh, all we do is," and they're like, there's the voltage, the lux level, the wind, the stuff they're wearing, the gas. There's so much more to it than that. It's an art, it's a proper art, welding. And you see, like, if you just go on Instagram and put welding in, you'll see all this mad shit going off, and it is like decorating. It's 90% preparation. And you think, "Oh, welders just thick people that do that." They're not. It's all there, and they must love it because they're just pushing that ball along all day. And it's because it's an art form. It's artistic. It's an artisan trade, it's not a job. If you want to go and get a job, go and get it. Like, they're just jobs. Careers are where it's at. So make sure you get one you enjoy. Don't do it for the money.
So
Even if it is underwater basket weaving.
If you are waiting for the next few months to pass for going into college in September, and you want to have a little look around some of the things we've spoken about, there's the lighting thing that Craig mentioned. I'll drop a link in the description of that. There's the AutoCAD stuff as well. I think there's free trials and different versions of that you can go and check out. There's the electrical OM stuff. If you want to get into controls and instrumentation and stuff, have a little dig around on the internet. And I've seen a few apprenticeships on that recently. I think one was for BP. I think the other one was for Northern Power Grid, so that they are out there.
Is if I find out, I'll tweet it. So find that. That's the resource in it. Because when you put me on the spot there, I was like, I don't know. But there is a couple of YouTube channels, but they are, again, this is the learning curve for stuff. Yeah, the learning curve for anything like controls, the light and stuff we've done about. It happens like this. You start here, and it instantly climbs massively, and you have to get your head around it before it peaks off. So. If I remember, I'll put some of the links to the control sites in there, but you could watch them going, "What's going off here?" Like I do.
There's loads of stuff on you can go and get prepped with and learn a little bit about before you start in college, because there's nothing better than being a bit forewarned of things. If you are interested, let your lecturers know, let your employers know, kind of tell them, "I'm interested in the design. What's that like?" Ask questions, try and force an avenue for yourself into somewhere that you do like.
But if you've just watched Nick Bundy and you want to be Nick Bundy and you want to smash holes in plasterboard all day and put fast fist boxes in and all the horrors that I can't even comprehend doing, then do that. That's the kind of spark you want to be in. Great, but bear in mind it is a big wide world out there of electrical things.
Exactly. Anything you two want to mention before we end it there?
My final bit would just be people have got time now, right? If you're 16, whether you're in your first year of college or whatever, go and knock on people's doors. Companies are busier than ever. If you go and get your ECS card and knock on someone's door, there's every bit of chance you'll get some experience rather than sitting at home for the next 6 weeks. And that'll give you a foot up in the industry, whatever avenue or angle you go to.
Good shout. I like that.
You know, if you want to be a YouTuber or an influencer, you'll always be a dickhead. Yeah, because no one who YouTubes or influencers wanted to be a YouTuber or an influencer is because they've got so much knowledge inside them trying to get out. They can't help but deliver it in what they find other ways to get it out. If you want to be a YouTuber, you're probably boring as bollocks and you'll never be able to get on YouTube and get anyone to watch because you're just boring. Yeah, it's having a passion in another area that creeps out is why the majority of people on YouTube, even if it is people being dickheads. So yeah, think about it.
And on that note, we'll end it there.
On that bombshell, I'm going to go polish my lens because I'm a YouTuber.
If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'll leave links to Jamie and Craig's handles as well on social media if you want to go and hassle them with questions. If Jamie hasn't gotten himself kicked off from everywhere by the time he's out. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Apprentice 1-to-1 podcast, sponsored by Schneider Electric. Please like and subscribe to the channel, get involved with the comments, and we will see you on the next one.